One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. So let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads, feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? 7 days, and we're back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball, and our boy Aaron is out dealing with some family business, so he ain't gonna be with us tonight. But I told him that if he got back in time, he could kick back in on the back end of it if he
That's
wanted.
right.
But,
I've done that before.
Yeah. So if he makes it back in time, then he may kick on and you may see his face. If not, we're gonna keep it pushing. But we do have a guest for you this evening to gonna shed a little light on some stuff that we're gonna be talking about tonight. But before we get started, like always, check and see what's been going on for the week. So, what's up, Mike? How you doing? How was your week, brother?
Doing all right, man. Definitely not. I'm always interested in what Aaron does every week, because he's always got this cool. I'm kind of missing that right now, and I definitely can't live up to that name, right? No, it's been a lot of politics, so obviously, like how I always speak on, it seems like I'm in this never-end cycle of politics. I mean, that's what happens when you speak on it every day. You're just going to be nonstop involved in it, and today's been another gnarly day, and so it's just been a lot of just stuff going on. So what I try to do in these moments, I try to spend as much time as humanly possible with my family, as well as like friends and stuff like that. That's what I truly try to get away from all this crap for a little bit and try to enjoy a little peace.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a lot going on, and like but earlier today we had the thing that went on with Charlie Kirk. That was tragic. You know, prayers to his family. Uh, it's kind of makes you think. You know what I mean? Like what's to come? Stuff to go to continue to go on like this.
Totally.
But for the week, it's been good. It's been very busy.
I saw an announcement that you put out on Facebook, by the way. I saw the badass picture of you.
Oh
Saw
yeah,
that. I saw
yeah.
that. I hope you speak on that.
Well, I was gonna, you know what? I forgot all about putting it out on there, but I was, yeah. So we actually, what that is remember the movie that we were doing, Standing on Business, right?
Yeah.
Okay, um, so it's completed, and the distributors decided that instead of it being a actual feature film, which we had a part one, part two,
Mm-hmm.
they called and want to make it a 6-part series.
Whoa. That's a
Yeah,
big deal.
yeah. So they're gonna be flipping some things up, but the actual name, Standing on Business, if you type that in, you see 1,001 different things for that, and we wanted to be able to put that movie out where it stands on its own.
Makes sense.
So we went through and we changed the name and
So
changed.
just on not the first movie, obviously, right? So just now, anything
Right,
after, right?
right. So we end up changing it to The Lawful Ones.
Mm.
And like I said, this 2-part feature film now is going to become a 6-part series.
Man, that's a big freaking deal, dude. That's
Yeah,
like
so
humongous news, actually.
it's gonna be, yeah, so it's just some more stuff that we got to do. You know what I mean? Like I said, but grateful for the fact that that somebody sees what it is that we're doing and like, okay, let's do this.
And
You know what I
believes
mean?
in it. Yep.
Right. So that's a good thing. And next month, probably towards the middle of October, we're going to be starting Born Protector. So that one we'll really be talking about in the coming weeks because that's
You
going to
got an
be.
agent, right?
No,
At
actually, I
this
don't.
point, holy shit,
No,
bro.
actually, I
I
don't.
mean, you're like the head of these movies and shit. And like how you don't have a at this point, it's just wow.
Man,
Awesome.
I'm just moving. That's just it. I found my niche.
Yep.
So once I found my niche, I just moved through it.
Once those
You know what I
doors
mean?
open, you don't hesitate. You just take them. Boom.
Exactly.
Just take it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're just moving on through it. You know what I mean? Like I say every week, those of you who know the words of prayer, send one for me that I can continue to do what we're doing. You know what I mean? And like I said, we also started Dominant Effect Entertainment. And Born
Yes.
there is going to be like we're involved in the lawful ones, but Dominant Effect Entertainment will be solely for Born Protector. So that would be our actual very first feature film that we're doing. That's fully invested. So it's gonna
Man.
be it's gonna be a good thing. So today, what we're gonna jump into is I'm pretty sure everybody knows about the ICE agents and mobilizing militarizing the police and having troops in DC for immigration, supposed to be crime control, um, pushing back homelessness, all this jazz. And we had said in the previous time that we had brought this up that it was happening in DC, and we all said during that time that was just a precursor to see what was going to go on. And if nobody
You
really challenged
you
it,
you did
then
say
they
it.
were going to move. Then they was going to move on to other places.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago is the next place.
Yep.
And here for the past couple of days, they've been in Chicago, um, doing their thing, picking up people. And with this new Supreme Court ruling just today, that's basically putting profiling on the map, saying that in short form, that if you looked Latin American, you spoke Spanish, then they could approach you. And
Yep.
if you did not have the proper paperwork, as in green card, birth certificate, whatnot, that they could detain you, which has caused an uproar in a lot of different places. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a whole lot more court cases dealing with this because of what's going on. But tonight we got a friend of mine that's actually in Chicago. And he's done a lot in the community. He's actually ran for board of trustees in Chicago. He ex-military, Marine, staff sergeant. He had a podcast show, which he's getting ready to start a new one called the Nasha Harrison Show. Very intellectual guy. Knows a lot about politics, but he also knows a lot about the community in which he was trying to serve. So I wanted to bring him on tonight and kind of get his insight as to what he's seeing in Chicago, what the people are saying, and so forth. So without further ado, welcome to Nasha Harrison to the Diamond Effect. What's up, my brother?
Hey,
how you doing, man?
what's going on? Thank you for the intro. You too kind, too kind. I think if I had a microphone right now, I'd just drop it and walk away. I mean, you said it all. So
That's right.
I appreciate the invite. Kudos, big ups to you and your team, what you're doing. Keep pushing, keep moving forward. The fact that you putting it out there, you found your niche, as you were saying, I was listening backstage. The fact that you found your niche and you're doing what you're doing, brother, I support you. As always, before everything, right? So I'm going to continue to support, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on the show and talk a little bit about what's going on here in the Chicagoland area, to include, the Chicago, the city of Chicago as a whole. So, yeah.
Well, we know that on September 9th, that ICE
Mhm.
began targeting undocumented individuals with criminal records under this new Trump incentive that the Department of Homeland Security was kind of spearheading this whole operation. So the Pentagon, well, let me take that back. The Department of War had authorized
Yeah.
the use of Naval Station Great Lakes, which I was a part
Correct.
of,
Right,
as
right.
a staging ground for this operation, while the troops hadn't been deployed at that particular time. The planning
Mhm.
and logistic preparations had already started, and then I've heard that they have actually been taken out to the streets. So, have you actually seen anything going on in the community that you around? And if so, what are the people saying?
Like, so I'll thank you for that. And I'll share the vibe. Hey, we from Chicago. And for those of you who know people from Chicago, when it comes to a lot, we easy like a Sunday morning. And what I mean by that is that don't much shake us. We're not Washington, D.C., we're not Los Angeles. And this is what I mean by that. No shade, because I lived in the what we call the DMV, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. DC is just that. It's a district. It's a district of Columbia. So they're not uh, they're not immune to a lot of the federal interference that you've seen from this current administration.
It's very unique.
Very unique. They're in a very unique situation. You've seen the license plates, taxation without representation. I think Mayor Bowser and her team are doing an outstanding job on ensuring that they keep the people of the district safe, while at the same time hosting an unwanted guest. And at the core, I would say this, at the core, the guard, federal agents, I'd be very surprised if they were really behind what this administration is attempting to do underneath the scenes, so to speak. Not behind the scenes, but underneath the scenes. Chicago, since the 60s, has dropped 30% regarding major crimes, to include the murders in Chicago. So we're on the right track. We're on the right track with the current mayor. We're on the right track with the current administration when it comes to law enforcement. And by the way, I don't speak for anybody in office. I speak my opinion about what I see and about what I feel. So this, I'm not speaking for Mayor Johnson's administration or office or CPD or anybody else that's out there. I will say that the people of Chicago, from my perspective, we're a FAFO type of place. Mess around and find out. As long as you don't impede us and what we're doing and how we're doing it, we just gonna keep it moving. I know a lot of people who have expressed their concerns about loved ones, the black and brown folks, because you got a lot of black folk too that's, from overseas, just like you got a lot of brown folks that's from overseas, our Dominican brothers and sisters, our Cubano brothers and sisters. So Chicago as a whole, black, brown, yellow, red, white, we don't want anything to interfere with the peace that is continuing to go forward and the work that this administration is doing. Agree, disagree, however you feel about it, but Chicago don't need no outside interference from the federal government. They're doing things just fine. How is it that you would withhold federal funding for certain things concerning programs and certain things concerning equipment for law enforcement, but yet you try to force the National Guard and ICE agents and other government entities into a place as if there was a problem? There's not a problem in Chicago that requires outside attention and help in that sense. And I'll say this. There's a lot of people who talk about the lack of resources in Chicago. I disagree with that as well, because it's your perspective. Like, there was a lot of teen takeovers. And unfortunately, some people have lost their lives. The last teen takeover that I know about was in a place called the South Austin area off of Maypole and Lamont. That's the first time I ever touched a football, right there in that lot where 4 teenagers were shot and killed. That's my old neighborhood. I mention that because of this. No matter how many resources you have available, no matter how many things you try to put forward concerning mayoral administration or concerning the neighborhood, it takes people that are willing to get with the program. Troops in Chicago isn't going to fix anything that we got going on. I'm for fair law enforcement. I'm for crime being handled. But before you force something down on my city and cities like mine, how about you ask the people? How about you ask the administration how they feel about you coming into the city? So just wanted to share that.
That was one of the things I was going to ask you, because it seems like now in DC, of course, the administration has control over that because you have no governor there. So they can bring out the National Guard and stuff, even though the mayor at that particular time said that there was no need for it because, actual crime and stuff was down and had been showing improvement over the past couple of years, the same as in Chicago. So why do you think that you hit places like Chicago, DC? I heard Baltimore was on that list as well. Which those are all quote quote blue states. And they all had black mayors in those. But why not hit areas that actually need help, like Memphis, New Orleans, St. Louis, Atlanta, Jackson, Mississippi, where crime is rampant? Why are you not going into those areas? Why do you think that is?
That's a great question. And my answer to that is this. You got a lot of progress in the places that Trump wants to come into and claim are rampant with crime. Chicago's on the right track. Baltimore's on the right track. Mayor Bowser ain't never fell off in D.C. She's been on the right track. Lollapalooza, Paho-palooza, whatever palooza she wants to put together, she's doing it for the people, and she's doing it at the ground level, ground roots. Same thing with Brandon Johnson. He may not be the most popular among the collective of aldermen that we have here. However, they are working together to ensure that there's a safer Chicago. We are a business hub here in Chicago, right? When it comes to logistics, we are the hub for the Americas. Before you get a beer to come from Mexico over to California, it goes through Chicago first because we're that logistics hub. So to answer your question, I believe that because we are so successful with the progression of things, when we're taking care of our own problems as a city, this current administration continues to try to shine a light on negativity. Not only that, tries to stir negativity so that the people who are in the quote unquote blue states or people that are more Democratic Party leaning can look like they are failures. And that runs very deep for me because it's beyond politics, in my opinion. Not only is it, partisan politics, but it speaks to the actual attempt to usurp current authorities within these cities that are working for the people and working very well. So we have a bigger problem than National Guard just coming in or attempting to come in and attempting to police our areas. We have a much bigger problem. And the bigger problem I think that we have is an attempt for an administration who has the levers that they have regarding our federal government. They're trying to pull these levers to continue to divide the people within these areas. And I think that we have to pay very, very, very close attention to what's going on, not only with people of color, but take a look at our allies beyond color. Because at the end of the day, it's just not a black-brown problem. It's truly, and I'm not trying to sound cliche-ish, but it's truly an American problem. And we have to stay ahead of it. We have to listen to those who are sounding the alarm when it comes to our legislators, when it comes to our social circles. We cannot continue to go down the road and feel like, oh, well, that's them. That's not me. That ain't got nothing to do with me. You're next on any scale of any type of activity that's contrary to your views, values, and opinions. If it's an attack on one group of people, it's an attack on all.
Mm-hmm. There was a question somebody put on here about Chicago being the murder capital. But this is what I just pulled up. It said there isn't a single consistent murder capital in the U.S. as of
That's right.
designation change based on the year and the metric used.
It always
the
changes.
absolute number of murders versus murder rate per 100,000 residents. However, cities like Memphis, Tennessee, Jackson, Mississippi, New Orleans, Louisiana, recently have had some of the highest murder rates per capita, while Cook County, Chicago, recorded the highest numbers back in 22. So,
well, that's kind of the point of what Trump is doing, right? I mean, they're not going to just stop at Chicago. Do you think that's where it's going to end?
I don't think that's. Go ahead.
Go ahead. So if you mentioned Memphis earlier, you mentioned Mississippi. If these places were economical engines and these places were supported and maintained by folks of a opposing political party, I think that he would be there as well. I don't believe that this administration cares about the affairs of black folk, brown folk, poor white folk. I don't believe that they care about those affairs because if you look at the progress, again, look at the progress of these blue states. Now, whether you red, blue, purple, whatever it is. For example, when I ran for trustee in Dalton, a south suburb of Chicago, I didn't run as a Democrat. I didn't run as a Republican. I ran as an independent. So they call that purple. And there's a reason for that. I am Democratic leaning. However, if I would have ran as a Democrat when I ran for trustee, then I would not have had the opportunity to give the people a choice on who to vote for. We all would have been on the same ticket, and they would have had to split the vote between the three candidates that was running for mayor and the candidates that was running for trustee. The reason that I chose to run as an independent was simply because if you vote for the majority of people that you want to, for the majority of people, if they want to vote for those main people in office, because I have to respect the fact that I'm just coming into the community. If you want to vote for those main people and you're not happy with either choice, or you're not happy with the choice that has actually won that nomination during the primary, you have an option to vote again. So you want to give people the opportunity to be a part of their change in their community. And I believe that because this has been a great example for decades in Chicago. This has been a great example with the partnerships that we have with our current governor, Governor Pritzker, here in Illinois. Nobody does everything perfect, but they do communicate with one another. And I believe that because you have a lot of communication with these states and these cities within the state, that's these economic engines, that's a problem again for this administration because they're not red leaning, if you will. And if Memphis ever was an economic engine like Chicago, I guarantee you, in my opinion anyway, that this type of administration would definitely be down in Memphis.
Mm-hmm. Well, you think like, when we were doing other shows and we were talking about crime in different places. So take Memphis or Jackson, Mississippi, or even Montgomery, Alabama. Those are areas that you got high unemployment rates. You have a lot of people below poverty line. So with that in mind, you're going to have a rise in crime because what you don't have, you're going to take, or you're going to figure out a way to do it. You know what I mean? So you got a lot of people there that's either on drugs, selling drugs, or making drugs, one to three. You know what I mean? Because, that's their economic background. You know what I mean? That's how they putting food on the plate. Now, I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, but understand. I don't understand the fact that, you don't have to kill one another in order to get what you need to get, though. I don't get that. And being that there is a lot of crime that's going on, and it's a lot of the crime it's not from the drugs, it's from actual killing. You know what I mean? People don't come out and fight like they used to. You know what I mean?
No.
Don't nobody come out and just square up one-on-one and get that shit over with.
No, it's straight to the piece.
Right. They're gonna run straight to the gun, and then people getting hit. Now, with the way this economic structure is starting to become now, though, with these layoffs in these different places, job cuts, unemployment rates going up. You have Medicaid is getting ready to get cut. You got SNAP benefits is getting ready to get cut. You have a lot of different things that's brewing to where this could be a bad situation, not just in Chicago, but nationwide. Because when people run out of money and they run out of resources, then what are they going to do? You know what I mean? So we all know that during the Biden administration, a lot of what you call migrants came from the southern border, and they branched out and they sent them all over the place. They were sending bus loads to Ohio and New York,
everywhere,
Chicago, and Denver. You know what I mean? They were sent all over the place.
It was unreal.
So my question to you is, and this could be to both of you actually, Do you think the way they're doing this is the right way to do it? And what I mean by that is I'm not talking about just going through rounding people up. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the way they're doing it. Like they're just going through, just picking people up.
Are you including ICE and the National Guard?
Yes.
Okay, do you mind if I speak on that real quick? I've been fairly quiet. All right, so regarding this whole thing, this is the way that I look at it. I live in a place that there's totally not like a police presence, right? You know what I mean? And nor would I want there to be a humongous police presence. I don't agree with having the National Guard or military or any of that actually coming in. What should happen is to allow these mayors as well as governors to do their actual job, because the cops are only going to do what the mayor and the governor tell them that they can and cannot do. So that's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is the corrupt DA as well as the corrupt judges that we have. So we have two like major problems. So it's a complex issue. But regarding this, do I agree with how they're doing it? No. But here's also what I have to say about this is, of course, if Trump is looking at it like, okay, here's all the killings that I'm getting, blah, 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 from this area. And of course, once he pinpoints a spot, that's what he's going to focus on, right? And so that's what he's doing with Chicago right now. He looks at that and goes, this is unacceptable. And if they're not going to do their job, I'm going to force them to do their job, because I'm going to go there and do it. And just putting that kind of pressure, and you guys unfortunately kind of fall for the bait a little bit, because I'd be like, at that point, of course, do I want to live in that environment? No. The answer is no. That's honest. But at the same time, you can't play into their game. You have to be like, well, okay, well, if they're going to be here, fuck it, dude. We have nothing to hide. Do what you guys need to do. Protect your little building over there, dude. You know what I mean? That's the way I'd look at it. But this is a complex issue, and of course, people feel a certain way with the government, and so I also understand their feelings about it.
To your question, you asked if it was being done the right way. I do not agree that it is. And again, I hear you, Mike, but crime is down in Chicago.
From whose numbers though? And I don't trust anyone's numbers.
Okay, well, if you don't trust numbers that crime is down, how can you trust numbers that crime is up?
Because that's the whole thing is I go based off of a different kind of, I don't go based off of those kind of statistics. I can just look on social media every day and I see a killing, and I see, I can see it personally and go, dude, I'm just watching people drop left and right. And it's these kids that just film it. They just film guys getting shot. And from where I grew up, Los Angeles, you know what I mean? I grew up, born and raised in Long Beach, you know what I mean? And I just moved out of California last year after 30 years. You know,
I lived in the jungle for a little bit. So yeah, I lived in Laskin, King, and Crenshaw.
I hear you.
So let me shoot a quick example. Major news outlets during Hurricane Katrina are on record for describing the differences in black folks looting and white folks looting. When a white person was on air for stealing out the store, grabbing a boat, trying to do what they needed to do to survive, they articulated that as someone desperate in dire need. When black folks did it, we were looting and robbing, and something needed to be done with it because we were a threat, even in the middle of some place like Hurricane Katrina. This is why I'm saying this for a reason. I would love to pull the statistics that shows that crime has been down 30% since the 60s. And at some point, maybe the next time you guys are on, I can go ahead and provide that with you guys. So, for the record, you see that these are not statistics from the blue side, red side, purple side. I believe that everybody has a right to be safe and secure in their homes, in their spaces, when they're walking about. Nobody deserves the right to have anything taken away from them, especially something as precious as a life. Now, with that, with me being on the ground, I feel like Chicago's as safe of a place that it's ever been. I'm 52 years old. I grew up on the west side of Chicago. I grew up between the South Austin area and I grew up between a place called Cabrini Greens. And when I grew up in those both places at the time in the 70s and 80s, things ebbed and flowed, community, social circles. But overall, from my perspective, being here in the Chicagoland area and going to the city very often, it's a safer place than mainstream media is making it to seem. I believe that the right way to do it is just like you said, Mike. You get with the mayors, you get with the governors, you get with the leaders, and nobody's gonna fault anyone from holding people accountable for doing the right thing. With that, if you look at the progress that our city of Chicago has made, the right thing is being done. So I believe that the proper way to do things is to work with law enforcement, work with administrators to make sure that you don't agitate certain areas that are crime ridden. For example, I don't expect to see anybody from the National Guard, who, by the way, they don't have arrest authority, or ICE, who does have arrest authority.
Correct.
I don't expect to see any, excuse me.
Oh, he got a phone
Got
call.
kicked out.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. You're coming back in. You'll be good for in here in a second. I
Okay.
know how that feels. I know how that feels right
Man,
there.
it's like, so
it's all good.
I feel like if you work with those who are on the ground doing the work every day, that you'll get the results that you are telling the people that you're looking for. I believe that if you come in such a bombastic way that this administration is coming in, then you're looking for problems. And as I was saying, I don't see ICE or I don't see National Guardsmen or any type of agencies now or in the future going to certain parts of the city. I believe that's because of cooperation. I'll give you an example. I highly doubt that you'll see ICE on 69th and Halston on the south side or Cicero and Lake on the west side, because those officers will be putting their lives in danger. And I believe that if you really want the results that you tell the people you're looking for, that you will work with law enforcement, not to be steered around potential issues, but to actually engage with those issues. I know Chicago is a sanctuary city, and a lot of people outside of Chicago and within Chicago feel that this current mayor has done more for people who are not citizens of Chicago, who are not citizens of the country. They feel like this mayor has done much more for them than he's done for average Chicagoans. I don't have the numbers to that, but I will say this. Before you accuse any administrator of doing more for one group of people over the other, make sure that you know what your resources, what resources you have available to you. Again, I said earlier, I don't believe that resources or lack of resources are the issues concerning our young children, our young people in Chicago, wilding out doing teen takeovers. The beach is accessible. The libraries are accessible. Social media areas are accessible. I think it's a lack of communication to try to bridge the gap on letting people know what is available versus things not being available. There are so many people that are opening up their homes, their doors, their businesses to host different events that not only teens want to be a part of, but other people on average would want to be a part of too. So if you want to do it the right way, work with the law enforcement that's here. Work with the administrators that are here instead of coming down and saying what you're going to do because you don't want to pay attention to the statistics of things being better in Chicago and not worse.
Got you. You know, I was to answer the question that I put out there. Do I think that that it's done the right way? I'm gonna have to say no. And the reason why I'm saying no, it's a number of reasons. For one, I totally disagree about having military on the street. Totally disagree with that. And I think that that is by having them in the street, you know, going to these different cities, you know what I mean? Like I said, you got DC, now we got Chicago. Now, is this something that can continuously flutter throughout the nation? Absolutely. But is that something that we as Americans want, is military in our streets? No. I mean, you and I both are veterans. So we know that our job is supposed to be overseas, not here. We should not be walking the street doing any kind of quote, quote, law enforcement. That's what cops are for. I think that, especially being the fact that you cutting programs to the police, you cut numbers in various cities, but you spending $400,000 a day doing this. Well, that money could easily have been going to the police for other funding or other programs and stuff like that they're using to keep some of these kids, because, you know, a lot of them blaming the YNs, you know, for running around doing everything and saying, well, you know, they really can't put teenage numbers in with these statistics because they're teenagers. Get that.
Right.
But there is also programs that was used to deter these kids, you know, some of these kids that may have been lost and they needed to be into a program to be put on the straight and narrow, whatnot. They defunded a lot of these programs. So you also leaving a lot of stuff out on that end. Now, with the immigration problem, when they first came out, when they said they was going after the violent criminals and all that, all the ones that was coming from Venezuela when they opened the prisons and let everybody out and all that stuff. Okay, fine. I didn't have an issue with that. That part I didn't care about. When you just picking up people though, and you're going in these schools picking up kids, and by the time people realize that you've been picked up, you've already been sent to another place on a plane and shipped out somewhere, and not even sent to your actual origin place.
Or,
just sending you to random places and dropping them off. I don't think that's fair. You know what I mean? Especially when you sending people that's from South America, you send them to Uganda or Libya or El Salvador. You know what I mean? When they the report came out the other day where when they shipped those 200 people over to El Salvador and put them in prison, and they found out that 85% of them ones that they locked up were not in the gang. But they sent them over there and locked them up anyway.
Yeah. Let me jump in real quick. It's a financial agreement. That's why. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, I feel like you know, I concur. And I would think that we all agree. No one wants crime in their communities, in their neighborhood. Everybody wants to be safe. That's red, blue, purple, whatever other color you come up with. We all have backgrounds to where we have been put in positions to make sure that we help keep our people safe, whether it was family, community, what have you. When you talk about troops on the ground, so to speak, you know, we swore an oath to, you know, support, defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So now, if you have a domestic enemy that troops on the ground should be defending against, where's the law that says that they are actual domestic terrorists? Are you not responsible as an administration to support and defend the Constitution of the United States as well? And when you look at this administration and when you look at all the things that they've done against the Constitution, violating people's civil rights, violating the constitutional rights that even immigrants have when they get here, who's the terrorist at that point?
Mm-hmm. What was the question that Lindsay popped up, Mike?
I got it right here. You said ideally the government should work with the people rather than use military force. How are these people going to be effective and without corruption? Would they be paid?
That's a great question. I believe that America truly does have a moral compass. I believe that there are truly people out there who do want to support and assist folks who want to have um, their day in court. Um, I don't believe that corruption is at the core of everything that we see going on when it comes to our communities and when it comes to our neighborhoods. I believe that corporate greed is in all areas of our federal government based on what you see today. For example, you got people that are getting deported all the way to Uganda because there's a financial agreement in place. It's the same as when we had all of our prisons being filled with black and brown people because there was a financial agreement. The more people you have in prison, the more money the industrial complex gets paid. So I believe that people can actually get to yes regarding their situation here because there are people who actually do advocate and they're not corrupt. They advocate for people because that's the right thing to do.
Hmm. So do you think that it should, at this time, being what's going on, that a lot more of these local community-based organizations should be actually being out and talking to the people and getting them to understand exactly what's going on and
That's
and what
happening right now.
people affect.
That's happening right now. It's very difficult when you have a local government up against the federal government. It's very difficult to try to disseminate a solution to the citizens because you have the law of the Supreme Court justices that are justifying breaking the law based on opinions in the gray area. There's not enough black and white to disseminate down from the top to the bottom to say, hey, here's the plan. This is what we need to do. This is the goal. And what's unfortunate is that a lot of people's lives are being upended and disrupted, and they don't have to be. It's not that you don't want to enforce the law, but there's a way to enforce the law. I don't think anybody would agree that it is right to separate children from parents. But yet you'll have those who say you have to be deported. If that's the law, that's the law. But everyone deserves their day in court. People are not getting their day in court. So I believe there's a lot of, advocacy that's out there that's trying to direct the people in the right way, that's trying to ensure that that the economic engine continues to roll, continues to flow, because when people are afraid to come out, they're not going to spend money, they're not going to travel, they're not going to contribute to the very fabric that makes a city run, whether it's Chicago, DC. Tourism is huge here in Chicago, as it is in Washington, DC. When you have people who are afraid to come out and go to work, afraid to come out and go to school, afraid to be a part of the social fabric that makes a city run, then that's an issue not only for that city, but that state and the surrounding states. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Missouri, Wisconsin, they all depend on one another when it comes to commerce. And so what affects us in one area eventually is going to affect us all.
Right. So what somebody just posted one on here that said that Bill Clinton had made it easier to deport illegals.
Oh, this one. Right.
Yeah. So here's my thing with that. All presidents have deported immigrants. They all have. All the way down the line. They've all have done it. Now, Obama, they say, had done more than probably all of them. But here's my thing, though. Did anybody say anything about it during that time? No. Did anybody say about it when Clinton did it? No. Did anybody say about it when Trump did it in the first term? No. Anybody say anything about it when Biden did it? Go on down the line. No. The reason being, it was the way it was being done.
That part.
There wasn't infiltrating ICE in these, running in people's schools and showing up at the Home Depot, snatching up people and putting National Guard on the street.
Or firing immigration judges. That can actually take the case.
Right. Now, the problem also is that when you have people that actually went through the process, that's going through, that did the paperwork, that's reporting to immigration, that's doing all the stuff that they were supposed to be doing to get their citizenship, they grabbing those as well. So you're not safe at all. So it's not the process. It's not the thing that, okay, who was the one who deported the most? The thing is how it's being done. Nobody said that you can't uphold the immigration law. What we're saying is it's the way you're doing it is bullshit, because you're making this like people got deported all the time, but they never made this big, huge news story about it. You didn't see ICE going in factories and shutting the whole damn factory down and taking 200-300 people out of it. You know what I mean? You didn't see that. Just like they just did in Georgia, when you had over 400 South Koreans that started that Hyundai plant there. And then ICE comes in and pulls all 400 people out of there and lock them up. But what happens though? South Korean president comes in, oh, hell no, you ain't about to do that. Let them out, and I'll take my people back home.
Because it's already an agreement in place. And that's
exactly.
Mike,
there was an agreement. You're right.
Right. And so there's already agreements in place. And that further lets me know that the administration is not trying to do something because it's the right thing to do. They're simply doing things because it's a disruptor to those who are actually contributing to the fabric of this nation in a positive way, no matter what political party they lean more towards. That further tells me that it's not just about politics. Because if it was just about politics, you would leave that plant alone and let them produce the way they need to produce for that area and make that money. But to me, it goes beyond that, simply because it's not just partisan politics. You're actually ripping up families and communities. You're actually retarding situations and systems that continue to allow for the economic engine in these different areas to actually function and run.
Well, no one here on this panel is going to like my take, and I accept that. That's okay. But for me personally, and the way I look at it, the worldview that I have, you're illegal, get the fuck out of my country. As well as it's kind of interesting, but due process isn't always going in front of a judge. Due process is a little bit different definitionally depending on the certain crime. Okay. And the way that I look at it is they don't have the rights that we do. They just don't. You're not here, and people can sit here and argue the, what is it, the 15th Amendment regarding that. I understand the argument, so I'm not aloof. But the way that I look at it is you're not us. You have no rights. So you even coming in front of a judge, you don't even have that right. Now, what we do have a right to is figure out your status in the United States. So our due process is, can you present me an ID? Can you present me documentation? And if you cannot, okay, now we're going to go in the system and find where you were born, and then we're going to ship you off to your residence, your citizenship.
Well, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you totally. So that's a positive thing right there.
Listen, man, people, I'm a far right conservative. And
okay.
And this is me being honest, but I'm also very logical and level-headed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I report news Monday through Friday. You know, I'm not aloof to these subjects. I just have a little bit of a different worldview than maybe you guys do.
And I totally get that. And I think I could speak for Archbishop as well. We've been a lot of places around the world to form our opinions about a lot of things as well. So We don't have a total disagreement there. I think that if somebody wants to actually prove their status, they have to have it there in court. And I believe that they don't have all the rights that we have. I don't disagree with that, but they do have rights because they're human beings. And so at the end of the day, if you want to get real technical, I mean, if you want to go way back, then we could talk about the Africans that was here before the Native Americans became who they were and so on and so forth, how Texas was Mexico and all these other things. Because to the victor goes the spoils in our country, fortunately and unfortunately. And so if you're the ones writing the laws about trying to kick everybody out, then I think you should address the fact of how you got here in the first place too. And so, but as far as the situation at hand, I believe that outside factors have also influenced the way that we look at immigration today, because we kind of look at things in a vacuum in this country, right? Clinton did it this way. Obama did it this way. Trump did it this way. Biden did it this way. Trump's doing it this way now. We act as if nothing's ever changed outside of the borders of America when it comes to the drug trade, when it comes to the cartels that have risen, fallen, and risen again, when it comes to the social economic engines that our companies that were born here in America have actually shipped different jobs overseas. We're not looking at how outside influences have actually affected what we see today as an immigration crisis. Is it a crisis? Was it more of a crisis before? Not to debate right now, but I feel like it's important that no matter what you have in front of you, and no matter what the federal government wants to do with these different cities, there has to be mutual cooperation between the entities that are already in place and the people that want to come in and make change. And if you really feel that, let's just take Mayor Johnson, for example, if you really feel that he's failing, if you really feel like he's not doing enough, then before you drop people into our city and into our state, I believe that Brandon Johnson is very competent. I believe that Mayor Pritzker is very competent. And I believe he's done a hell of a job with our state. So how about you sit down with these people that you never asked to sit down with before? How about you sit down with these people and come up with a solution to what you feel is a problem and then move forward? Because again, I don't think anybody disagrees that nobody wants crime in their neighborhoods. Nobody wants more done for others that can be done for us here in America. But again, we have to recognize and realize that there are more resources out there than we claim are not, because we have to do the research beyond the news cycle. We have to actually check the facts. Like you say, you don't trust a lot of people's statistics, but somewhere out there, the facts are there. And so before I
agree with that. I agree with that. Absolutely.
So before we run off and say what Fox News said or what CNN said or LN said, what are the people in the community saying? And where do they get their information from? And I think it's very important for us to understand that leadership should be engaged within our communities, that people within the community should be heard between them and their leadership before a federal entity comes down and tries to put the smack down on trying to have a solution to a problem that's really not a problem. At least that's my opinion here in Chicago.
Real quick, I got to read these off. We got Gorilla Biscuits that came in, dropping a gifted membership. I really want to thank you for that, as well as K2 Keep on Trucking says, go after the companies that hire these people too. Very much appreciate that with the $2 dono on that. And then Gorilla Biscuits throwing in a 5 spot just to, say fuck you all. You know what I mean? That's cool. I very much appreciate that. Thank you for that. Interesting topic, gentlemen.
Yeah, you where we at? Yeah, we sitting at almost an hour. We'll drop it. We'll drop it down. I just think, as a whole, that, like I said before, I'm not questioning the fact of dealing with the immigration problem. I'm just questioning the way it's being done, and the strategies that's being done to where it's looking like this is the right thing to do. You know what I mean? And then today, when I seen the Supreme Court ruling, where basically, make a long story short, that it's okay to racially profile a group of people, and if they didn't have documentation on them and they looked Hispanic or Latin American or they spoke Spanish, that it was okay for you to stop them and question them. I just don't. I mean, I just don't think it's right. You know what I mean? Especially when you're dealing with, like I said, this nation was founded on immigrants. None of us here, other than the Indians, can even complain about this land because we all came in by different reasons. You know what I mean? You had some that came from England, you had some that come from Africa, then you had the Italians, you had the Chinese, you had them all coming in, and they still flowing through. Um, it was founded that way. It was built that way. Now, I'm not saying that the streets have to be flooded. That's not what I'm saying. It has to be, you have to put some kind of regulation there because if not, then everything goes haywire. I get that. I'm more stuck on the way it was put in place. I think it's a disrespect. Having people scared to come outside. Let's say it was someone who's actually been going through the process, going to the courts, going through immigration, going through everything that they're supposed to be doing, to be an actual citizen, but scared to leave the house because they know that if they get stopped walking down the street, that they may or may not be detained and shipped somewhere. I don't get that. And I also think that that's a precursor to, like, okay, once you do this, then how far are you really going to go? Who else you going to start pulling? Are you going to start pulling actual American citizens that you don't agree with? I mean, that you got an issue with? Are you going to? I mean, does this open up everything? You know what I mean? It's like one thing it's always a trickle down effect. One thing happens that leads on to something else. It leads on to something else. You know what I mean? And that's the problem that I have here. It's just the way that it's being done. Now, with our creed that we took when we went to the military is to protect this nation from any invisible, foreign, and domestic. Now, if it was an actual enemy in the nation, yes, by all means, we're gonna fight till the wheels fall off. This ain't that type of situation, though. We don't need checkpoints out here checking people's ID to see whether or not they, whether my name is Moore or Sanchez or Jenkins. You know what I mean? And okay, you come over here. What you got? You got your birth certificate? No, you got, what I mean? But I'm American. Do you have your paperwork? No. Okay, come with me. Because that's what that seemed like they was putting out today. You know what I mean? Now I hope that someone in the administration would actually come out and put a little bit more clarity as to what it is that they were doing and what they actually meant by this ruling today, because the way they put it out seems like you basically giving ICE the ability to racially profile people and pull them to the side. That's what it seemed like. I would hope that it was different, but we shall see. Nash, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we get you back on here again, and when you get your show going on, give us a holler and we'll come over there and break bread with you. To everyone else that was that's watching, appreciate you all for coming out every night. Like, follow, share, subscribe, pass it on. Like I said, we're all learning. We're all learning out here. You know what I mean? And we all have something in common because we're all Americans. You know what I mean? And like I said, we may not agree on everything, but the core values we should always stand true to. So I'll see you all in 7 days. Mike, go ahead and take it out, bro.
Yeah, man. If you guys are on my side, make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out. Whether you guys did it in the beginning or at the end, doesn't matter. Make sure you guys go on the Diamond Effect podcast page, the YouTube page. Make sure you guys check that out. hit the subscribe button as well as hit the like button on that side as well. Leave a comment what you guys think about this whole topic. This is a very interesting topic. I do want to speak on behalf of conservatives on one thing. And the one thing that I will say is I haven't personally, as somebody that is in the inner circle of the GOP, I would say that I have not heard anybody say that they are against immigrants. We have all agreed. This is something that everybody has agreed to, that we just want you to come in legally. Yes, it may take you even up to 10 years sometimes. There's some crazy cases in Mexico. They're waiting for 10 fucking years in a line to do this shit right. But guess what? People still do that shit because they know if they take that route, they're not going to have to play this game back and forth kind of crap, whatever. Just nonetheless, I think that this is a complex issue nonetheless, and I appreciate D. Nasha, I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name, but nonetheless, it's an honor to have you on here to be able to speak on the ground level in the trenches, to be able to speak your mind and give us your perspective, because I also hate it when someone speaks on a territory that I live in. And it's like, what do you guys know? You've never even stepped foot here, so I really appreciate and understand as well, but appreciate you coming on and giving us your perspective on these things. So I got to thank you.
You want to give a closing word to Nasha? Let him give a closing word before we let it go.
Hey, Mike, Bishop, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to getting on with you guys again. The Denasha Harrison Show can be found on YouTube. I was on Intellectual Radio for a while here in the Chicagoland area in Westchester, and also out in Baltimore on Be Exposed Radio. I was on the Denasha Harrison Show. So if you want to look up who this Denasha Harrison guy is or whatnot, just go ahead and YouTube Denasha Harrison Show or Denasha Harrison Podcast, and it'll pop up. But thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to this subject again, because this is not just our subject, right? So this subject again to include any other subject that you want to talk about. So thanks for having me on.
Real quick question. Do you happen to have an Instagram on a personal level? Because I'd love to be able to follow you and your journey. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll get all that together by October, the Denasha Harrison Show. I'll get it popping again, cracking, and I'll have people, I'll have it available for you guys to follow me on that.
Right on. All right. Well, if you guys are on my side, make sure you guys hit that like button. Stick around for the raid. We're going to be raiding our buddy Grid One Motorsports from my side. With that being said, much love, honor, respect to everybody, and thank you guys for making these very shows happen tonight. I can't thank you enough. Real quick, also, I did forget one thing. Papa Penguin did spend $10. He said, what's happening here tonight is what needs to happen across the country. Exchange ideas and find common ground. Don't feed in the insanity. I agree, 100%. So, what a great way to end the show, man. So thank you, Papa Penguin, for that, as well as everybody that donates and contributes to the chat, as well as hitting that like button. All right. Much love, honor, respect to everybody. We'll see you guys very soon.